missionaries in the hills. Joseph came up here in 1832, and he came across the hills from the east coast and looked down upon this place called Tiahu, and said that was the place he'd seen in his dream, you know, and also he had also seen his wife in his dream too. On the way out on this ship, Kevin knows the name, I forget the name, convict ship. Yeah, so that shaped his life, really, coming out there in the bilge of this convict ship with all these people that had pitched a loaf of bread to survive on, you know, because they were so poor. Anyway, he came back and got married the daughter of Richard Davis, who was a missionary at Waimate North, and he came out with Bucky, William Gilbert Bucky, and they married sisters.
That's right.
And Mary Ann was Joseph's wife. Matilda was William Bucky's wife. And he came here in 1832, but he didn't set up a station until he got married in 1834, and they originally had Raupo Reed huts to live in, and that place is marked up there by the church. And what's next?
Getting the land for the church.
Pardon?
Getting the land for the church. Getting the land for the
Yeah,
church.
yeah. The land was purchased not by him, but for the CMS, and the Tower of Malcome is where the police station is. Pukimura is where there's a school now. Along the ridge is Rapuketi, where Norman Brake built a house. Across to the east from there to Titiki Aitiaki, which is a parside. And from there to Tioti, which is across from the church, across Mautiringi, the stream there, to the church, and from there to Pakerikeri, which is the one that's visible as a parsite now. The others are all not don't register as a part, you know, when you look at them, but that one does. That's Pakerikeri. Kerikeri means to dig. So that's the area that was purchased by the CMS, and as I say, they lived in a reed rush house with dirt floor, but they progressed to a proper house. I just forget when it was built. And yeah, so where's Kevin? He should be here to prompt me.
Where is he? He wants you to prompt him. Work with us, didn't
Yeah.
They had 6 children on the cabin.
Yeah.
Richard Henry.
What, Noble?
No, he was a different family.
Oh, Richard Henry.
Richard Henry, Ernest William Davis. Who was next? One of the girls, Sophie, married Dunn.
Liza.
Liza married Shannon. And Samuel Haywood Ford was my grandfather, who married Elizabeth Eleanor Zabriskie. So we related to the Zabriskies right through.
That's right.
So Zabriskie ancestor was Johann Anton. His brother was Ludolf. There were 2 families
They
with
made
the name. And the girl married a Wagner. So all the Wagners from up here are related. Yeah. What's next?
Can you tell about the original school site in Grigg Street?
Yes. That's all recorded already. So the original school was open when, Kevin?
It was. Yeah, it was 1874, but those the school site, original school site was at Grigg Street.
Well, it's where Grigg Street is now. It was, like, Shannon had a store there, and he ran the store in conjunction with the school, which was a lean-to off his store. So he was the first of the school teachers up here. And then where am I at?
The school shifted? School, yeah. The land was given by the CMS to the education department of the time. And that's when the first school was brought from Mongatati by a bullock wagon by an old married bloke called Lot. And that was put on the site up there by where the district high school. It was a Kaita primary and district high school together. And that building was taken down many years ago and was re-erected as a house out at Pukepoto.
It was actually a school building, a Pukepoto school.
Yeah,
And
not the Pukepoto school. The Pukepoto school first building was built by Richard Henry. He built a lot of the old buildings around the place. And that is now in a paddock this side of Pukepoto, school there somewhere. It's still sitting out in a paddock there. It looks very...
Should we get it back?
Should
we get it back?
Get what back?
That building?
No, it's just sitting out in the middle of a paddock there on the way out to the
It
Pukepoto
actually
school.
belongs to Mum and Dad
Oh, does it?
and Puni Makini.
Oh, yeah.
Found
Oh,
that.
funny, eh? He was a great bloke. Yeah. Yeah, so now where are we at?
New story about the rivers and Takitimu coming up. And No, I don't know that.
Oh.
Or if I do, I've forgotten.
Kevin, did you tell us the story of the Taki Timu?
Oh, the Taki Timu.
A woman rang up and asked for the story, so.
The Taki Timu came in the Rangungu harbour with Tamatea and his crew. It landed just down the creek from, up the other side of the creek from Unahi at Waimanoni, and there's an island there where they say that was his landing spot. And from there he moved into what is the Kaitaia area. His pa was on Tino Tino, which is down below the substation on the ridge at Okahu. So if you look across from the school, you can see it in the bush there. It was on Neil Mathews's place.
Oh, yeah.
So that was his pa. He lived there for a number of years, and he didn't get on too well with some of the neighbours, and he was ousted from the area. But in retribution, he dug the Whakatane, or the Okiori, it's the same river. He dug that out around about where Bells is, between the Kairo Intermediate and where the bridge is, and flooded out the Tongaoni area, which was big gardening area for Taro. So in doing that, he stopped access into the area because the water didn't flow down the main river, which was the Whangatani, the Okiori, which met the Awanui River at Awanui in a place called Hinoki. I think I've got that name right. And the river, the Awanui River, was blocked more or less from Gills Road up into town, and it wasn't opened up until I think it was 1836. Like Panakario and his workers, he was paid to open it up by the CMS. So that sort of changed the way the area developed. So that there was the landing place, or the missionary landing place, or the landing place was down below Patukaroha, which is Karaponia, and the Karatahi. So that was the landing place. So if any shipping came in, it had to come into there and then walk over the hills to town, because this was all swamp in the lowland areas. Yeah, until that other river was cleared, and then shipping could make it all the way to Llamas Road to Thompson's store. Yeah,
Whose store?
Thompson's.
Johnson originally.
Oh,
At
Johnson.
Llamas.
Yeah, well, yeah, on the top of the hill, there at Llamas. So, yeah, so that's all related to the history of the Takitimu, and then that moved off. He moved off further down south, and you can follow. There was 3 Tamateas, but you can follow the history by the names that go right down through the South Island. So yeah, hence you have the name Tamatea as the little short road that leads to the wharf at Unahi.
Cool.
There's a lot more to that story, a lot more to the...
They want it.
Yeah, well,
They've got the Cook Island end, they've got the Hastings end, but they haven't got the middle bit.
Okiori meant the place of the rat.
Yeah, the Rat River. So that was the Okiori is recorded in the name of the Samuel Haywood Ford land claim. So there's a lot of names. There's a lot of names that have lost their place. The name's there, but the place is gone if you don't know where those boundaries were. So it's quite a mission to actually decipher those land claims and try to put those boundaries back.
Yeah, and when Joseph came and reckon that was a place he wanted to settle, there's a thing on the hill opposite the school up there, up on the hill, there's a marker there where he came across, and he looked down on and I reckon there, that's the place. But he didn't like the name Te because it had connotations of practicing rites, you know, and things that he didn't like, so he renamed it Kaitaia. And Kaitaia was a tiny little place out opposite Lamas Road. And he picked on that for some reason, and of course Kaitaia has a couple of explanations for it. One is wasted food and one is abundant food. So probably it was wasted because there was too much of it.
Yeah, true.
So so that's how it came to be named Kaitaia. And instead of building on the high ground like the old missionaries did, not one of their houses ever got flooded. But the land was sold to Bell by Glenn Mathews owned it, and he sold it to Bell. And Bell, instead of putting sections on the hillsides, he sold the main street as Kaitaia is today. He made sections available for there, so people built there. And of course, it wasn't long before there was a massive flood, and there's been a series of them since. 1936, there was 2 big floods, and Kaitaia became unlivable at that time because of the massive floods that occurred that year. And of course they fixed that now by opening up the Wangatani to the main rush of water. But by doing that, they wrecked the Anui Harbour, Rangaunu Harbour, because instead of the water taking 26 miles to reach the harbour, where it settled out on the banks and in the bottom, and it was dredged and so on. Instead of that, all the nutrient and runoff from the hills up there all rushes down out straight into the harbour, and it's made a great bog of the Rangaunu Harbour now, where it used to be nice sandy beaches, it's now a bog. And that was their biggest.
And they straightened the river as well, eh? They changed the river, straightened it out in Freetown.
They did that so much, but they they cleaned the other river at one stage so that the water went that way. And so now we have a harbour that used to be pristine, and now the mangroves have just gone berserk with the nutrient, and it'll just get worse and worse and worse. So we're stuck with that. People don't know what they're doing. They the regional council organised that, and it has wrecked the harbour forever and a day. Except that not so bad at the on the Kaimamau side. It's still fairly good there. It's the western side that's taken the hammering. Yeah. So where can we go from there? Ernest William Davis lived just across here. And the old house is still there. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's the Masters connection there.
yeah, that's where the Masters married. Ernest William Davis married Marion Masters, and they had, how many kids did they have, Kevin?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I can remember the old bloke, old Ernest William Davis. I remember him walking along the road once from just before he died. He was a tall man. And I have a photo. Oh, you got that photo, Kevin? Of him kneeling?
There's a few photos of him around, but Peter Mathews has got the original one.
Yeah, I got him off him.
Yeah.
He looks to be taller than her by quite a bit, and he's kneeling. So he was about 6'6" and she was about 5'6". Oh, you know, variation on that.
He donated the land for the Awanui Strait on the bit that he owned
Yeah,
to, I think that was 1882.
that's right.
And because there was only a bit of a mud track that followed the ups and downs and the rises along the Whangatani to Awanui. It's still visible in some places, but largely it's disappeared completely, the original road.
Yeah.
But it connected the homesteads up. So it was probably to his advantage a bit to have the road closer to Albury.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Albury's the old name of the old place over here.
That's right.
Ernest William Davis. Yeah, my grandfather only got to 28.
Oh, good.
He was working a threshing machine, and he got up to fix something, and he accidentally tipped into the machine so that his arm was torn off. He was only 28. He had 4 young children left, or was it 6? I'll get to that in a minute. He said to Blen, look after my children, my young children for me, you know, because I'm going to die. He knew he was going to die. The doctor was at Monganui, and he wouldn't. They arranged to have a series of horses so he could gallop all the way, but he wouldn't do it. He rode his own old horse, and of course he got too late. But he couldn't have done anything anyway in those days. Doctors didn't have the skill didn't have the, blood donors in those days. Yeah, didn't even know what the blood group was, I suppose. No, they wouldn't. But,
Terrible.
yeah, anyway, his Glenn Mathews, who was his nephew, married his wife. They had 2 children. And there's descendants of those around. But yeah, William Puckey was given the chance to become ordained. He was a catechist, but he wouldn't accept it, because if he'd been ordained, he would have had to leave the district, because they only paid one chief missionary, in one area. He would have had to leave, so he declined. So that's why he stayed up here, because he liked the area and he liked working with Joseph Mathews. So
And they were bilingual, eh? Did they speak Malcome?
Mary Ann did. Mary Ann was an absolute she was perfect. Joseph did what he needed to do, up to a point, but Mary Ann was completely bilingual, and she saved, I don't know how many, no way of knowing how many, but there was a way of limiting the number of girls in the community. They just wanted boys, so that they were warrior. They needed warriors to protect the area and go and murder other people and so on. So, but she used to dress the girl babies in European clothes, and that made them tapu. They couldn't be killed. Yeah, I used to stop them breathing when they were born, by holding their airways tight. And and she used to go around the district helping people that were ill and needed help. The cry was always, "Send for Mother Mathews," when a woman was having trouble having a baby and so on, or whatever the sickness was. And some stage they got her a horse, so she was able to ride to these people and help them out that way. So she never ever got the recognition they should have had, really, those 2 women, because men were the big thing in those days. Women came way down the list. But yeah, where was I at?
Slightly change the subject. Did horses have to be imported, or could anyone have a horse? Were there horses?
No, they were very rare up here at the time.
Like you just say, Mary Ann got a horse.
I don't really know the the numbers, but she had this horse and was able to ride to anyone that needed her help, because she had some sort of
Gift.
medical sort of self-taught, mainly, I suppose, but she had some sort of medical knowledge. But where were we?
woman should have got recognition.
The what?
The woman should have got recognition for the
Yeah,
work
yeah, they there's things up there at Tiahu where they have the men, you know, up on this pole, but no women. In behind the pole there's a little place where they say what the women did, but they don't get recognised openly, you know. You have to look around the back of the place to see the thing. Yeah, so
So where were the Māori living for her to help? Were they in the village or in the pa or?
Panakaria stood up on the hill up here with Joseph and marked out an area that was purchased for the CMS.
Church Missionary Society. It was it was actually outside of the CMS, that one. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was outside, but the there was in the old land claims, it sort of details about where Māori were living, and so there was in Awanui.
The Māori lived in Awanui.
Yeah, there was a population at Awanui, where Southie also had a land claim.
Oh, he married a princess.
Yeah, so the rivers, because the riversides were most fertile and above the flood level, that's where most of the communities were. There was another big community out at Waro, which was they call Wharo now, which was Ahipara. There was quite a big community there. There was a big community Takao, Te Hapua.
Nothing in town.
Oh yes, in town, following the river, right up into Victoria Valley, Pamapuria. So those are very fertile areas. There was in town itself. There's an old map detailing the villages that were there at the time. There was two chiefs put in place to protect the CMS, and they had one was Rauri's ground, and that was below Te Keri, the pa there in behind the RSA. So there was quite a village there, and a lot of gardens. At Pukipoto, very fertile. Big village there. So the number of, it's very hard to gauge the number of people that were here, but it was probably taking into the areas going as far out, as Whangapai, Hedekino, probably about 4,000 people. There was less people further north in the early days, because there was there was a lot of battles in the 1820s, and very few people remained up that way, but they did return.
Yeah, the disease took them out later, eh? Who was teaching up north? Ernest William Davis, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was teaching at Te Hapua, and he lost, if not all,
lost all these kids, eh?
all the pupils. Yeah,
all the pupils died of what was that disease?
typhoid.
Typhoid, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of disease. There's living. There was changes in living practices where people were living in swamp areas where they normally wouldn't live. There was a lot of flax harakeke industry, gum digging, and that exposed them to a lot of dirty water, and therefore typhoid. They call it typo, the devil, was the name they gave it, because it was pretty horrendous. Those the living conditions were really harsh. So, there had been some very large populations living in the north prior to the arrival of the CMS. There'd been some very large populations, but you had those ongoing battles, like particularly with Hongi Hika, and then that basically started with the Boyd, and he wanted European trading to continue in that area, but there was too much aggression for people to settle. So during his later years, it was the late 1820s, there was large battles with muskets and cannons that took place, which displaced the populations really, and it's affected the communities till today really, because of the shifting of people and the breakdown of that's all those knowledge.
And there's the story of Mary Ann bringing those people back from, where was it, where the Boyd was?
Kaya. Oh,
The Wesleyan mission.
She was staying with the Wesleyans.
And that's at the time that those battles were taking place, because that was Hongi Hika's own whānau that he was fighting.
She brought them back through the night, eh?
Yeah, the Wesleyan mission was under the protection of one of the chiefs that was there, but he left the area and left that mission exposed. So it was raised, but Mary Ann was there at the time, and Hongi was busy at that particular time attacking the pa on Taratara, and the Wesleyan mission people were led by Mary Ann because she knew the way. I'm not sure if she led them back to Waitangi or Paihia, because I think at the time they still weren't established properly at Waimate North. So yes, and they wouldn't touch her because of her relationship with Hongi. They had quite a understanding.
Well, she nursed Hongi Hika for a long time, eh? He had a bullet through the lung, and he lived for, well, she probably extended his life by quite a bit, but it was a great joke amongst him as well, that when he breathed, it whistled. And
So he was after those ensuing battles that carried on through those weeks. He was shot at a place not too far from where the Mangamoka marae is there. No, it was Iwitawa Road, about.
Goes to the back of
Otangaroa. Yeah, so that was the track through from the east coast, through, that was the old road. But there's a place there, there's an apple tree there where he was actually wounded on the flats before you get to the hill. before you start rising up. There's a river there,
Mm.
and that's where he was shot.
Right by Maumatahi.
Yeah, below. Yeah. So he lived for, I think, 14 months after that, after he was wounded. And then they were worried about how things would progress from there, because there was still, there was like Hutu, there was like payback, but things did settle down, but it didn't undo all the hurt that had gone on through that. And basically, relating back to the question of where the Maori communities were, it was where they ended up after that big displacement. Mm.
Yeah, Joseph was, by using the Bible instead of a gun, he got people on side, and stopped the cannibalism and the murdering, and he put an end to that. And what was I going to say next, Kevin?
I don't know. We're going down a dark path. But well, that was the education. Was the if you're getting back to the schools and the education of trying to. Well, his main goal was to introduce the gospel. So the principles within this gospel. That's what he tried to introduce, and that as people became more picked those principles up, I guess they changed the ways that they'd changed the way going forward, because it was because there was still a lot of pain through those battles, particularly up north. I mean, you can go into the detail of them, and you can probably understand still why there's arguments today or disagreements today, because they were still quite raw. People, a lot of people don't understand how close that history is. It's like from the 1820s. It's not long ago. When you had this sacking of Utia at Hokateri. It's not that long ago. It's 1820s, and then there was several battles up north that were related to Polro and the killing of his son, and then there had to be retribution for that. So on it went, but. The introduction of the musket was pretty.
The worst thing we could ever do.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, but Joseph, he not only taught the Bible, he taught them how to grow other things for food, like peaches and all that kind of stuff. He just didn't.
The change of starch diet. There was the introduction of wheat, bread, because was one of the things that these were very productive areas here. You can see by the rua and the amount of even from the aerial photographs taken in the 1940s, you can see how big the areas were, production areas to grow the starch. But when you had all that disruption and fighting going on, there was no time to actually grow those starch crops, and the people became quite hungry at that time, as because you needed time and work to be able to crop and to to weed and to gather the crop and store the crops, and that system had been broken down. So when the CMS arrived, there was still plenty of tuaturs and things on the beach, but you can't live by tuatua alone and fish. They needed other the carbohydrate diet.
Yeah, it wasn't until the whalers and sealers and whalers came that they got the modern coomer. They used to be the long purple coomer that only grew about that thick and long. It grew like a tapatini, like a carrot in the ground. But the whalers and sealers and whalers brought the coomer that we have today, that we still have.
Yeah.
It's not the one you get from Bell's. That's rubbish.
So you grade tupu, are you?
Tapatini.
Tabatini was
Yeah.
the one that grows like carrots. Weiner is the red one that we still got in the family, and Tukau was the pink one, which we still got. And there was a white one too, Rickamaural, which we lost, but I think they still got it in that
Heritage.
heritage place.
Mm.
Yeah, but it wasn't so nice to eat, and it didn't
Koanga Gardens down.
shoot very well.
Yeah,
So,
somewhere else. I think Lancair might.
mm. So to have a decent coomer, you've got to have those old ones, because they got the marvellous flavour.
There was many, as much as 80 named kumara.
Varieties.
Yeah. Some of them would have been the same and had a different name, but that's before the introduction of the later cultivars. But most of them were bunch growing. They weren't, because the viner is a reference to the runny. So when you see the old garden plots or sketches, you'll see them in squares. Because so they raised them, and they grew. It was like today when you dig them with a spade, you can hear the crack as you're going in the wrong place. Whereas like with tapatini, they grow straight down, and generally you can dig the spade underneath and pull them up. Yeah, but I guess they were more adept to tropical conditions or warmer conditions.
Yeah, they used to grow them down in Wellington by having a ring of big stones, and around in a circle, and in the middle they had this fertile soil, and they would plant the coomer in the shoot in the fertile soil. In the daytime the rocks would heat up,
Yeah, warm it up.
and they would get hot when there was plenty of sunshine, and then of course at night they would release the heat and keep the coomer warm enough to survive. But it was a massive task to grow a lot of coomer like that.
So were the varieties throughout New Zealand all the same, or was it more local varieties?
Alston Best recorded a lot of those varieties in the late, probably it was a little bit late, but he was one of the ones who recorded those names. And they went, they were growing like the Bay of Plenty.
They only went so far south, they had to go on the east coast, and not inland, and
So yeah, there was
all down the east coast and up here and up north.
so yeah, there was taro growing up here in a big way. It's pretty much lost its
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
everything.
Tangone was time.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that is like
right.
and Tongoni is a reference of the waving of the
Totally.
the leaves like the sea. But there's very few names that are referenced to taro. There's Pukikai taro this side of Motutangi, and that's not a name that's often used or known of. Taranui is over on the Pururua Peninsula. But there's very few references to the name. As it was a valued kai in starch. We've still got one here from, is it Len, is it? He had it, he called it Taro Maori, but we're not sure if it's the original one or not. I've got it growing just here.
So
It's the
house-
best, it's the best one. It's remains soft.
And Danny Jones's Peru Peru.
Yeah. Those the change from those old crops that were starch crops that were brought out from with them in the first arrivals changed quite quickly with the arrival of new cultivars and kumara, potato.
There's still, where they haven't wrecked them, there's still lots of old kuma pits, where they stored the kuma in the winter.
There's plenty up and behind where you.
Yeah, you can see all the stone piles.
Big hollows in the ground, and
Stones here, holders.
they were drained by
Gumfields too.
Yeah.
tea
You
tree.
can come across
Rua,
Rua.
yeah, that's so you managed to store the starch through the colder periods and then have enough for the shoots for next season.
Yeah, another thing you don't hear much. Do you know what a punga is?
Tree.
Aye.
Punga.
Punga. Your pot. Inaki.
Ponga's the anchor
Okay.
for the
Inaki. They made them out of reemangi. You know what reemangi is? Reemangi is a creeper that grows in the bush.
Oh.
It's very, very.
The one they use for whacking us.
It's very thin but strong,
Oh. Yeah.
and that was actually the name of when they stood on the hill and marked out the boundary for the CMS. The Reemangi was the river, it was called. And they marked out the boundary from there with, Of course, he got land later for him that was CMS land, but later down below the college, he got two big sections of land, 500 acres each or whatever it was. One he bought outright, and the other one he said he would give back when he finished using it. And when he went to give it back, the government stepped in and said, no, you're not going to give it back, we're going to take it. And they did. And it's only recently that they got that land back, in the last year or two, after all those years. But Yeah. So, yeah, lots of things happened that weren't good, but lots of things happened that were good. So,
Sounds right.
So did you go to Kaitaia Primary School?
I did, yeah.
And it was a full high school right up to the high school at that point as well? Or was it just a district school?
It was a district high school in those days. I started when I was 6, and that was the last year of that was 1935. That was the last intake of 6-year-olds. After that, they put it back to 5. So, yeah, we had a school bus, of course, to get to school.
So were you in the old buildings, or was there a new building, or was there a primer block when you were there?
There was a primer block built in 1930, and we started off and there was additions later. We started off in a long row of buildings there, and we started off there, and Primer 1 we were in how did the rooms go?
So was that on here, was it? Was that the first one there, was it?
That was the original one.
Okay.
That was the original school brought from Mongatati
Right.
by, how did I say,
Bullet.
a married bloke called Lot.
So was that at the top or the bottom?
Where was that?
It was at the top.
At the top.
It was the, if you've got a picture of you haven't got the picture of the old buildings, have you? You got them, Kevin, here?
Yeah, well, that's the oldest one there. That's the one they shifted from Mangatati, and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
It wasn't
it was-
shifted in one piece. It was shifted in a whole lot of bits and pieces.
Oh, right.
Because it was on the bullet team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
took a
it
while.
was put up there, and other buildings came around it later. As I say, I started in Primer 1. Our teacher was a Miss Smith.
Wow.
She later became Mrs. Black.
Later came to who? Mrs. Black?
Yeah, she married a Mr. Black, so she became Mrs. Black. But and our next teacher was a young lady called Kitty Rogers, who for a year, Standard 1, Standard 2 was Miss Hammond. Standard 3 was a big lady called Agnes Pyle. They were all Miss Agnes Pyle. And that was Standard 3. Standard 4, we had a great big bellowing Scotchman called George Maxwell. He was a great man for the strap, and he was always pulling his strap out. Big bloke he was too. Hell, he could hurt your hand. And from then we went to Standard 6 and had a series of teachers there. Lovely man called Des Barry. He went on to Kauai Intermediate. Then a bloke called Heron. I forget his name. What his name was. And then we had Bill Bestick. He was more like Des Barry. He was a lovely, lovely man. And from there I had 1 year at, most of the kids left that year. Not many kids went on to high school in those days,
That's
but I did, and I went for 1 year, and our teacher was Miss Atwood. Dorothy Atwood. She later became Dorothy Wilde.
of course.
She was an
Yeah.
Edward.
I
So
didn't know that, I think.
she took us for most of our classes, but we had Miss Solomon, who was our math arithmetic teacher, and Miss Neal, who took us for something I can't remember what now. But yeah, of course they kept building on to the high school. There's 4 rooms there at one stage, plus the school office.
So there's quite a few students at the school at that point.
Around about the 400.
400? Wow.
That was, primary and
Yeah.
college.
Oh, that's a lot, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, there were good times and bad times.
Yeah.
Remember used to be the day of the measles and
Were there many Maori students in school at that point?
No.
None or
2.
2?
2 in our class, rather.
Wow.
A fellow called Gordon Larkins and another fellow called Arthur Harrison. They were good blokes too, but they were the only 2 Maori. There were Maori schools in those days. Yeah.
Were the Maori schools run by the CMS as well? Or no? Were the Maori?
Yeah. Who ran the Māori schools?
Right?
Education department who ran the Māori schools? CMS?
No. They were just run by the education department. Yeah. Palmapuria was one of the first. And I couldn't work out what the heck Palmapuria meant. It didn't translate into anything Maori, English from Maori. And I realised it was Pompalia. The transliteration of Pompalia into Palmapuria. Yeah.
What did you do after you left school?
Straight onto the farm. Straight milking blasted cow.
You were still milking cows at school.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what most kids did anyway in those days.
That's all there was, I suppose.
Yeah.
And did you have brothers and sisters as well?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, oldest brother. Jock. Brother called Arthur Hackney, named after my father's great mate in the war. Because he was a Gallipoli man. And sister, older sister and 2 younger sisters. 2 of us left. Yeah.
Malcolm, do you remember going across the school, from the school down to the lower fields for
Ports.
sports? Yeah, but did you do that for air raid alerts, like practices in the war times?
Yeah, there was a big willow tree around on the southern side of the school.
Yeah.
And we used to go and get under there, and this fellow would fly over us in a plane to see if he could see us.
See?
Yeah, I just forget his name. He was killed on Mount Ruapehu
Oh.
many years later. Yeah, because there was the training Air Force ground at Waipap in those days. They closed the road off, so we had to go down Spain's Road. It became a no-go area. They closed the pub for years. Waipap pub.
How did you get to school from here?
School bus.
Walk?
Bollocks.
School bus.
No,
School
we
bus.
always had a school bus.
Yeah, school
Oh,
bus. I
okay.
didn't know that.
Old bloke called Joe Cowie took us
Okay.
all those years to school. Yeah. Yeah, we picked up at the gate.
Mm.
Yeah.
And did you have school books, like what we have today, or did you have, how did you have just normal books and lessons like we would expect?
Yeah, we did have books. I can't remember what they were.
No, that's okay.
What they were like now, but we yeah. Yeah, I remember one book about a donkey called Need Moke. That's the only one I can remember. Yeah. Yeah, but we had exams twice a year, And
And did you swim in the river as well? It was.
the river was our swimming hole, yeah.
Yes, that's yeah.
Yeah. I remember a boy called John Wright. He got out of his depth and he'd gone under twice.
Yeah.
And I reckon 3 times and you were gone for good,
Yeah.
And anyway, the teacher, Dot Atwood, jumped in, clothes and all, and fetched him out.
That's right. I mentioned that.
She was a lovely girl.
Mm.
He had 2 or 3 kids. Still Wild. Peter Wilde's still around somewhere, I think.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Was the river right behind the school then? It had the schoolways and drops down. Was the river right there, or was it still a distance, like to the swimming hole?
It was,
Someone was round the corner.
There's a photo of the swimming hole, and I
think
can't
it's round the
picture.
just above the bridge it was a bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Not far where the
Yeah. On that first
Church
corner, I
Road
think.
Bridge is
I
now,
think
not
the
far
first
above
corner,
there.
Darwin.
oh,
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that
That was our swimming hole.
looked pretty steep.
I remember one boy, it was 25 meters across, And this one boy called Mickey, Laurie Mickey. He got 3/4 of the way across, swimming, and he thought, "Bangers, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to get buried before I get there." So he turned around and swam back.
Of course he did.
Oh dear. That was a joke for years.
Oops.
Yeah.
The Mickeys are going to listen to this.
Yeah, of course they were cousins, of course. The Mickeys to us. To old Richard Mathews. Ross Mickey. Charlie Mickey.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Duncan Mickey.
Well, their great granddaughter
Yeah,
works
yeah.
in our office now.
That's right. She does.
yeah.
Megan.
Oh yeah.
One more story for these two, please. The karawa carving stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, just for prosperity. It wasn't found in Hollywood.
Got a carving.
Oh, the guy. Oh, yeah, I can.
And then I'll tell you what I found out about
They reckon it was a lintel. Well, it wasn't. It
that.
was a, what do they call it, Kevin?
Well, it was for Urapa.
Oh,
Yeah, Urupa, yeah, but no, not a lintel, it was carved on both sides. You know, a lintel is only carved on one
on
side.
the outside.
It was carved out of, what's that timber, Kevin?
Monowal.
Manawal, yeah. For years they reckon it was carved out of totara. Well, I knew it wasn't because it wouldn't have lasted. What happened was it was erected out at Aipara, Pukepoto Aipara area, somewhere out there. And there was a big war party coming up from the south. So they took it down and buried it in the Kara swamp.
Oh, right, to preserve it.
And that's where it was discovered all those years later. Because when they were buried in peat, they kept forever.
So when they were digging the district drains, I think it was 1922, and it was found on the boundary of which was the Paki claim,
Right.
and I think it was number 8, and that was where that boundary was on an old drain on Manga,
Yeah.
and it's 750 metres on the boundary from Pukepoto Road north of the road, 750 metres down the boundary of what was Fairlawn Farms.
Oh, yes.
So that's the point where the lintel was found.
And you don't think it was a lintel because it was engraved on both sides, can't
It wasn't a a lintel was a name that they just gave it, but a lintel is normally only carved on one
Yeah.
side.
What do they call it in the French?
Yeah, did they call it something else?
No, they haven't, because it was probably it possibly was erected as or carved as a remembrance to somebody.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a great chief.
Oh,
So because it was a in the recordings of my great uncle, he recorded these like po or carvings that were preserved with shark oil and ochre, kokowai, and they were like headstones, if you like, just as a remembrance to somebody. And if you look at that lintel, or whatever you choose to call it, he's hanging on to something from the past, and then he's hanging on something that goes to the future. So the Manaya.
Yeah,
So that's where that was found. It wasn't found down in the swamp. It was found on that which was land that had been cultivated for millennia.
Okay.
There was other items found in that dig as well.
yeah. The Urupa was originally a thing erected on 4 poles. To commemorate somebody, but later it became Urupa became a graveyard. but originally it was referred to something like the lintel electorate. Oh, no, I hate calling it lintel.
It doesn't sound
What
right.
do we call it? Oh, lintel.
I'm not sure what they've decided on, but there was yeah.
Product carving anyway, they call
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
Yeah.
That book.
Yeah, so it was. If you stop on that line, it's basically where the 60k sign is.
And towards a settlement.
Yeah, and towards the settlement, and then you've got the Linole's place, and then that boundary fence. It's getting a little bit obscured, but you can still see it. I can still see it exactly where it was because I did a lot of research on the very old maps and the drainage maps, and
Are you talking about that first brick house? Fairlawns?
it's fair.
First brick house?
Yeah, I think it is the first brick house
And
there.
then there's two right up the front there.
Yeah, and then you just look down that line. It's exactly 750 metres from the road
Wow.
Where's that?
where the
Water.
where the Kaitaia carving was found. It's
Ah.
hardly Kaitaia, is it?
Yeah, they've claimed it.
What area do you reckon it was?
Hard to know.
What iwi?
Yeah.
Turara water?
Well, it's in that area, but it's really hard to know because it's very, very early.
Turara even came this far in the old days.
Well, it just looks more like Cook Islands. You know how you said Te Aute was Tapa Beta?
Yeah. Alti is the old name for Kappa or Tapa or paper mulberry. So, and I think there was 6 beaters found, and my grandfather, Dave's father, found one here on the farm, which is up at Hokora now still, I hope.
It's a museum, isn't it? If they bigger than sold it.
No, yeah, well they were going to sell it, but I sent Uncle Hack and Dad up and they pulled it out of the sale, and
It should never have been sold, all that stuff.
no, so it's still up there, isn't it? It might be still in the old Zabriskie home, but yeah, the Tupper, it wasn't very successful because of the climate. But there was another carving that disappeared that has connections to you because of through the masters, because Charles Melbourne Masters, he was the headmaster at the Pukepoto school in the 1870, early 1870s on, and one of his brothers or two of his brothers found it below the homestead, which is more or less below the Pukepoto quarry, Masters quarry.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Waitapu,
Oh,
the
that's
stream
us.
that runs down.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, and then the old homestead there, and in front of it where they were digging a drain across, they dug up the Tuna Atua, which was the All God, and carving. And the Education Board sent up inspectors. The Education Board was actually based in Wellington, that was their headquarters, but they sent inspectors up to check to see how the headmasters were getting on. And this particular guy was shown it by Charles Melbourne, and he took the carving, and it ended up in the hands of a guy, A.K. Newman, who was on the Education Board in Wellington, but he had an interest in things Māori, especially carvings, but it was sold, and I haven't. I've tried to track it down, but it's probably offshore.
No,
It's very. It's a very unusual carving.
You said an eel god carving?
Yeah, I do have. I've got I can get a photo of it. I've got a photo of it. Yeah, there's a very detailed description of it. A.K. Newman said it was found in a ploughed paddock north of Auckland.
yeah.
But he was a there's lots of not nice those things written about him, but he did record a lot of history as well.
Who's that?
A.K. Newman.
Oh,
Yeah. But it was a guy, I think a guy Hamilton actually described it. But that's the link between that carving and the masters.
There's a swamp behind our house. My grandfather's twin brother was buried there.
Like this
Stillborn. She's
Still-
at the
still-
old Masters homestead here.
yeah, because the old masters homestead is built on a piece of high ground
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's straight behind it.
straight behind
Just
it.
drops straight into a.
Are you talking on the roadside or the other
Other
side?
side.
Yeah, the other side. Yes, that swamp. That is exactly where that's Atua Tuna
Yeah,
or
so
Tuna Atua.
they buried the stillborn down there, so he never knew he was a twin.
Ah.
no, when Masters moved to Hamilton, and there's a street there named after him, Masters Street, Hillcrest.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the boarding school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there
maybe
was a
that
boarding
was-
school. There definitely was a boarding school there. It operated for about 10 or 12 years.
From that Marianne, I suppose.
Yes, from Marianne. She operated the that was the first school that was on the site, and it was from about 1849 to about 1864. So that was the first school on that
That
site.
stopped there, and then the school.
Yeah, the school, for whatever reason, it stopped being a boarding school, and then
Boarding school for the staff or?
no, the boarding
Girls.
school was for
students.
Maori
Maori
girls.
Oh,
It was Maori girls,
oh.
and so for whatever reason, after 12 years, that stopped, and that building remained. Well, it wasn't used for schooling anyhow, and then because there was a need, there was more and more
Day students.
day students or people arriving to the area
Yeah.
that weren't Maori. They actually never had a school because all the other schools were native schools. Because there was there was heaps of native schools that were established in the area, but there was no school for Pākehās. So that's when they approached the
We all went to native schools and got taught gardening
And weaving.
and weeding
Weaving.
and sweeping,
got taught
firewood.
got taught the strap.
I know that was a Busby's. As long as they were in the class, everyone else was safe.
No.
So that's they approached the education board to establish a school on that site, and then the school moved from Grigg Street to there, and they removed what was probably a school building that wasn't being used at Mangatati,
Yeah.
and put it up on Te Ahu.
So that Pukeporō one, that was actually one of the original ones.
Yes,
Yeah. So we probably should make an effort to get it back
Yeah.
and restore it.
and it looks
Since
like
Richard Henry built
Looks
it.
like it's falling down.
Well, it
it's
is, but
still-
apparently,
it's still-
Shelley just told me, because she does land searches, Mum and Dad and Puni Makine own the land in that building.
Oh, well, there you go.
You got to rescue it, don't
Yeah.
You probably get
Because
mandrates
because the manse that was shifted and should have never been sold was shifted down to opposite Mahimaru, and the NRC have done all that river works here, and it looks like it's been broken down.
Yes.
It suddenly disappeared.
Okay.
Jock Dodds bought it, and shifted it there.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that was the original. That was the original old home. We don't care very much for our history in these places
no,
up
we
here.
don't, do we?
No,
No, we
we've got a very poor record of preserving
Well,
archaeological sites and yeah.
Well, according to the Far North District Council's sites of cultural significance, the only one thing up Church Road that's important is the Norfolk pine.
Yeah,
Yes,
well there you go.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the only thing of
That's
note.
it.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so it's yeah, they're very good at platitudes and making the right sounds, but when it actually comes to protecting stuff, it doesn't happen.
Do you know Roy Lewis?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a great friend of mine.
Yeah, poor old Roy. We've got Victor working with us now.
Yeah.
What's that?
We've got Victor. Roy died 2 years
2
ago.
years ago. I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we've got Victor, his brother's working for
Oh,
us. and
Victor.
his-
Oh,
and-
okay.
and-
Oh, yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
So
sure.
it's
He
nice
gave
to
me a
hear
heart
that
attack
gravelly
the other day.
voice
Oh,
and
yeah.
his,
Sitting in Roy's
you know,
chair.
droll chuckle.
Yeah, he's got the Roy laugh.
Yeah. That's
Caught
nice to
me
hear
out
that
the other
back
day.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
it sounds just like him.
I know, it caught me out. He was sitting in Roy's chair just the way he used to sit. And
Yeah, after I got Roy the job there.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Roy was
Originally.
oh,
fabulous.
he got his job there.
We
Oh,
miss
oh.
him. I miss him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I got him. He always came as what they call fresh start.
Ah, yeah.
People trying to get some. I got him the job there. The old Jack Middleton got too old to
Yes.
carry on so well. So
I see. So we probably should have a Jack Middleton little plaque in there too.
Yeah, Jack was there for many years.
yeah,
He was the caretaker, was
We
he?
put Roy a
Yeah.
park there outside
Yeah.
that caretaker.
Yes, I've
So you
seen
got
it.
Hucky Yarwood and you got Roy and Hucky Middleton should probably be there too.
Yeah, because Roy worked with
Yeah.
Mr. Middleton for quite a few years.
quite a few years, and
Oh.
I swapped him over because I was chair of the wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
School
cool.
committee.
And I swapped him over. Old Jack didn't like it. He reckoned he needed the money, but when he died, he left about $500,000.
It must have been a dally
Yes, that,
and a Porsche in the garage.
but I think Roy had the honour of being the longest serving caretaker in the
Yes.
country.
Yes.
30
I think,
years.
I think it was 40 something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Oh,
they
it was
did.
44, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I had heard that.
It
Yeah,
was a
well,
long time
Yeah.
I got him that job.
Yeah.
because he was
Cool.
there in the late 70s.
Yeah, that would work out about right.
Mm.
Okay, 2 more questions. Manuel, what's that?
Manuel, it's a conifer. It's a tree that was once common here.
No, no.
It's,
Never heard of it.
Totally indestructible.
yeah, well, it's very, very durable timber. A lot of it was, a lot of the old timber that's pulled out of rivers is, not all of it, but a lot of it around here is Manuel. There's a few trees that are left growing up in the hills here and up north. It's got a grain very similar to kauri.
Very
Oh,
short.
Yeah, short. Yeah, and that's quite hard. Sometimes it's quite hard to tell. It looks, it can look a little bit like totara.
There's an old stump over by the river. It's there today.
Oh.
It was under in the peat swamp for probably thousands of years. It was dug out with a dredge, and it's still sitting there.
So
totally
Some of
indestructible.
that kauri stump they're putting up could be.
Yeah, the kauri on
Kauri
the
won't last.
yeah is on the closer to the dunes in the west.
That's our block of land.
Yeah, and the Monowal is closer to this to these hills.
You know, it looks like a tūtara tree.
It doesn't look like a totara. It looks more like a kauri from a distance.
Oh, similar leaf and form.
Yeah, similar. There's actually two species.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, they might have separated them out as being different genus, but they look very similar. But the timber is very much the same. I think both of them are growing up north in the radar bush up north. But quite an unusual tree, but something that should be preserved and grown.
Yeah, I was going to say, because
You can grow some.
Pukipuro,
Grow some.
taumata, mahui. That's what it's called, mahui tree. I've never heard of the maruwa. But they grow on the flats, swamps.
No, they grow on the hills, but they used to grow. I guess the water level just changed. I mean, the stuff that's buried is, I have no idea how old it is. It could be tens of thousands of years old. The stuff that's buried under here, but it likes dry feet. It does like dry feet. Taumata Mahoi is
The
it's
mouth
a
by
hit
the Te Arawa.
by in behind the Kairaia Dam, Taumata Mahoi.
It's the pointy one behind Te Arawa Marae. Gregory's Gully, taumata
Taumata
mahui.
Maui is a big high hill. You drive up the main street of Kairaia, you're looking straight at it.
It has you can see a waterfall running down from the right angle.
Yeah.
It was an old saying that you couldn't stop work until your shadow fell in line with Taumata Mahoi from here, because that would be midday. That was an old
Taumata.
saying. Taumata Mahoi.
Means mountain of the mahui. Mahui is a whitey wood. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess depends on which angle you are, it's the highest hill behind
Our farm, Bruce Bergen's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taumata Mahoi. That's it, because you look, because from here.
It sort of looks like that.
But so I've got my angles wrong because we're actually not that far from in a straight line.
Yeah, from Pukipuro.
So because the next one to it is Koromiko, the other pointy one.
Puki Koramiko.
So there's one like that.
No, it's a little bit.
So they're
It's like in behind the church,
Yeah.
in behind the church.
Say what it's called. Can you name all of them? From this end to that end?
Oh shit.
Then the one to the
There's
the one
One
to
is
Poki
Moana
Tutu.
that's the one to the left again. One to the east is
Yes.
Puki Tutu.
Oh, I've written it down east to west.
That's the one that's where the reserve is, where Theo Mathews gave the.
Up the
And that's where the kauri tree was cut out for all
pews in the church.
and the other bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then there's Taumata Mahoi. There's also a name for the one where the quarry is. I can't remember that at the moment, but that's sort of below.
Masters one or
No, the Bellingham one.
well, there's Maunga Head and Moana from my understanding. Then they, I don't know, we just call it Trig Station Hill by our farm. Might be Ruakoti.
I'd love to know all the names.
Yeah,
I know the one where Dad is Rārani.
Yeah, I've got I looked that one up again. Is it Rārangi or Pairangi?
Rārani, it's the round one that Charlie's put a tank on.
Yeah, but it might be the same
Cool. Have a look.
same name, but the same place, because there's a Pairangi, and then I think
It was
Ross
interesting because
Ross told me Pārangi, but on the old record, it's Pairangi. So
IPAE.
yeah, which is Yeah,
The
what's
one dead behind the couch.
yeah. But those other, no, I can't remember other than the Puki Tutu, Taumata Mahoi, and then Puki Koramiko. There's
So when you were talking about the middens, so you got the Rarangi, and I think that one's Ruakauri, sort of where the trig station is.
yeah,
And that's all the middens were in there.
yeah.
And Dad's buried on Waiake.
Oh, is
Little
he?
Pa right behind the house. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
to-
So there-
he's buried there proper, not
Yeah.
ashes. Yeah.
Yeah,
very good.
Charlie made Urupa.
Oh,
Got it all.
got it surveyed off.
Because he was being a grave digger for the council, so he got a sort of short in there.
Oh yeah. Oh, good one.
Mm.
Yeah, because yeah, I'd have spent
But
quite a
Shane
bit of
said that-
time with your dad. He told me quite a few stories, eh?
Oh, he had lots, but so many I can't remember, and I can't remember names of places.
Well, he told me the story about the double-shotted cannon.
Is that out Whāroa Taneke or something like that?
No, it's out by Waimimiha.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about the Busbys bought it and didn't know how to run it, so they blew themselves up.
Oh, you told me that.
Yeah, well, no, it was
They get the real one.
they dragged it over from the Hokianga somewhere, and because where they were battles between Te Aopuri and Te Raura, they set it up on that high hillock by Waimimiha, and then the story is that they thought, because it was a little bit too far, they'd double shot it.
It blew the barrel.
It split the barrel open, and it killed 6 people.
Yeah. So my version's saying they blew themselves up.
Yeah, and then what happened with that cannon is that it was left there, but the masters, one of the masters got it, and they used it for a weight on the discs,
Oh, right.
I heard that too.
and it's somewhere underneath the Macrocarpa by the original homestead.
Which masters?
The
Down
original homestead.
the original homestead down below.
The quarry.
Because the
the
mast,
quarry.
Northwoods took photos of the masters in front of that Macucarpa tree.
So Frank Masters and
I don't know if Dion's still there.
No, he
Frank,
isn't. No.
Laurie,
Whoever.
Charlie, Arthur,
Yes, that's right. Masters. Charlie
Yeah.
Masters.
Frank, Laurie.
That's me.
Yeah, it was quite hard to follow the lines.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's me.
yeah.
Grandpa had a twin.
Yeah.
Stillborn twin.
Twin. Okay, so that's okay.
Walter Lawrence and Lawrence Walter.
Okay.
So I was told.
Yeah, that's where Hucky told me the split cannon was. It was just disappeared in the grass. But no, it can't have been that long ago that incident happened. But who knows? Probably in the
Yeah.
1820s.
Who would know?
But no one's admitting to
No
that
one
story
knows.
these days. It's I never knew it. It was your dad.
I know, but he was blaming the Busbys.
Oh, yeah,
Told
well,
you,
it
every time the
might be.
Busbys were in, something happened.
They're across the other side of the river.
That's
That'll do.
correct.
Yeah.
Blame anyone that lives on the other side of the river.
Yeah, alien species.
They were.
Roy's wife was a Busby, eh?
Robson.
Robson. Yeah, no, who you?
Toe Alex.
Oh no.
Toe Alex.
Oh, she is.
Huh?
Toe Alex's daughter.
Oh,
You know, the habit of putting the.
They were Busby related, eh?
Oh, well,
related
assume so.
somewhere.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was there's a few people coming back home.